Happy Thursday, everyone, and welcome to another Chamber check-in episode from Idaho's only five-star accredited chamber. Today, we get to hear from Amy Luft. She's the communication team lead for Compass. I'm going to bring her on right now. Hi, Amy.
Hey, Paul, how's it going?
It's going great. Beautiful weather. I love some cooler temps. There's fall sports going on. All three of my school-age kids got stuff going on today, so I'm so excited. How about you? How are you holding up?
Doing wonderful. Fall is the best time of the year, so I'm with you there.
Amy, Compass is an organization that I had no idea even existed before I started 10 years ago with the chamber. And what I'm learning through all those years of being in the transportation committee and having you and your team be a part of that and educate us and our chamber members on what Compass does. I was so thankful that you were able to take some time and help share a little bit more about what Compass is, what you do, and why. But first, Amy, let's talk about you. Help me share a little bit about you, your background and history of work that led you to be the communications team lead for Compass.
Well, first, I just want to say thanks for inviting me to be here today. It's fun to talk with you and share what we're doing. So I was raised in Moscow and I'm a graduate of the U of I, and then did kind of a long trek around the U.S., eventually ending up down in Boise. And with my husband and I have been here since '98. So Boise really is home, and Idaho is home, and we'd love it and wouldn't change a thing. So we're really glad to be here. My background actually is in what's called environmental interpretation, which is taking environmental or natural resource issues and interpreting them for a lay audience. So if you go to Yellowstone National Park and you go on a walk and you see interpretive signs, it's those types of things. Writing that type of programming is actually my background. And then I've been at Compass since 2008. Prior to that, I was the environmental education coordinator for the Department of Environmental Quality, also here in Boise. So kind of a little shift in what I talk about, but the same general skill set.
Wow. Okay. I have a buddy at University of Idaho that does some of that interpretive science stuff. And then my friend Almer Casillo was with DEQ probably the same time you were there.
Yeah. I knew Almer.
Okay. All right. Anyway,
yeah. We digress.
This community is so small, right? We always know somebody. I love it. Okay, Compass, as the Community Planning Association of Southwest Idaho, tell me and help me share through this platform what Compass is. Tell us a little bit about that, when it started, like its origin story here in Idaho, and why is it important?
So our origin story goes way back, actually, to the 1950s, but I'll fast forward a little bit through some of that. And we were the Ada Planning Association, just focusing on Ada County until the 2000 census. And with that, Canyon County became part of Compass. And that's when we changed our name to the Community Planning Association of Southwest Idaho. And essentially, we are what's often called a council of governments or an association of governments. Essentially, we are a government organization made up of other government organizations. So the cities, the counties, highway districts within Ada and Canyon counties are members of Compass, and they are really who directs what we do. They provide all the policy decisions that we work through. And we serve as the region's Metropolitan Planning Organization, or MPO, which is an organization that conducts regional transportation planning and distributes federal transportation dollars in regions with a population of 50,000 or more. And that's actually something that's required by the federal government in order to receive federal transportation dollars, is you have to have a planning organization like Compass. So there are lots of other compasses with different names throughout the state and throughout the nation.
Well, I'm always like, okay, there's somebody planning for the future. and how many people are on your team? And tell me some of the different roles that Compass has.
Well, we are planning organizations. So we are mostly planners. We have 13 planners on our staff. Ranging from those that are actually working on the long range transportation plan, which is called Communities in Motion, And so we have people who are working with public transportation planning, people working with bicycle and pedestrian planning, people working with freight planning. But then we also have people who specialize in that transportation budget of federal transportation dollars, and other people that work in our technical team that do GIS and mapping and a lot of data and number crunching, and then as well as our communication team, which is where you'll find me.
So you're helping cities like Boise City understand the density that or the folks moving into the region and how they get around from point A to point B, and maybe what that high capacity transit will look like, right?
And we look at all kinds of transportation, so everything from roads to buses to high capacity transit. Our plan goes 20 to 30 years into the future, and so a first step of that is always forecasting the future demographics of how many people will be living here, where do we think they're going to live. For instance, with Micron's big new expansion in Boise, if most of those new employees live in East Boise, they're going to have very different transportation needs than if they're living in Caldwell or if they're spread out throughout the valley. So we really are looking at where we're anticipating people to live, where we anticipate the jobs to be, so that we can plan a future transportation system to accommodate that and accommodate that growth. And then that looks at all kinds of transportation from, like I said, cars, van pools, buses, bikes and pedestrians. And then we also look at freight, not only how people get around, but how things get around as well. And then public transportation, and you mentioned high capacity transit, is something else that we're looking at.
Love it. I was riding my bike out to Idaho Ice World, and I took the Federal Way path. I mean, it's a beautiful on that little hill, and you're overlooking the foothills. Like that's a corridor right there for cycle traffic, and I could imagine that was probably put in because of the workforce that's up at Micron in the past. I don't know if you were around back then, but
I wasn't around. I'm not sure of the impetus of it. That's actually the neck of the woods I live in, so I definitely know what you're talking about, but I'm not sure what the impetus was specifically for that path. But it's a wonderful pathway.
Yeah, I mean, it took me 38 to 40 minutes from my house to Idaho Ice World, and it takes 22 to 25 minutes driving. So it wasn't that much of a difference, but anyway, there's lots of choices. There's lots of different ways to get to where you want to go. That's what I like about this community too. Besides working with cities and these government agencies and all these highway districts, how does Compass gather public information? How does the public weigh in on kind of the future plans?
Great question, because that's a huge part of what I do, is try to get that public input into what we're doing. You look at one of our plans and it will have the Compass logo on it, and our board of directors, is who has put forth those policies. But ultimately, the plans are really for the people who live here. They're for the residents and the business owners. So while it may say Compass on it, it's not just a Compass plan. They're really for everybody. And so we really work hard to try to get as much input as we can into our plans, both up front, so that we have that input that really we can base our planning on, as well as we're working through a planning process. And then at the end, kind of before we tie it up with the bow, and once we have actually a plan or a draft plan developed, get that final feedback again. And so it really is throughout the whole process, and just those different timings will have different types of input that we're asking for depending on where we are in our process.
I'm going to share compassidaho.org. It's scrolling on the bottom of the screen. We'll come back to that in a minute, but I just want folks to go to compassidaho.org, because I'm looking at it right now, and I'm under the What We Do tab, and there's air quality, congestion and transportation management, demographics and housing, data, mapping, safety. The list goes on and on. Out of those things, what are some of the the 80-20 rule, right? We work on 20% of the stuff that makes us 80% of the profit for the business community. But tell us a little bit about what Compass is working on that's really relevant and timely right now.
So we have a couple of big things going on right now. Probably our biggest is our Let's Ride Treasure Valley study, which is a study of potential future high capacity transit from Caldwell to Boise. So high capacity transit could be something like rail or light rail or bus rapid transit. We've planned for that in the past. We've done some smaller plans, and we've also did a fairly extensive survey in 2021. But this is really the next step forward and a much larger planning process. So that is a big push that we are working on right now. And you mentioned public feedback just a minute ago, and the timing of this conversation is perfect because we actually have open houses next week to get public input into the purpose and the need for that study and some of the initial results that we're looking at for that study. So you can find information on compassidaho.org. You can click on the Let's Ride Treasure Valley tab at the top. And then there are two open houses. One is in Boise next Tuesday at the library at Cole and Ustick from 5:30 to 7:30. And the other one is at the Caldwell Public Library on Wednesday from 6 to 8. And then we also have materials online that you can review. And we'll also be adding a comment form online very, very shortly for people to submit their comments that way as well. And it's a big step forward. It's something we're really excited about.
Well, we can't widen the road anymore, I guess. So instead of tiering it, we got to figure out something. So I used to commute the opposite way to Nampa from Boise and Caldwell, and the reverse commute's not too bad. But folks coming in from Nampa, you get that sunrise beaming on your eyes, and it's really tough.
Yeah, it is. I'm with you. I have the reverse commute, but yeah, going the other direction is tough and it's congested. And so providing different options is really one of the key things that we do. It's, not all about any one thing. It really is just having those options to get around in the best way that you can.
So when I started with the chamber, it was the 2030 Compass plan. Mm-hmm. Now it's the 2040?
No, 2050 is our current plan, and we're actually working on 2055 right now. That'll be adopted in 2027. Wow. So always moving forward.
Okay. Hey, Amy, I got to ask you, how does the business community get involved?
Great question. First of all, I want to stress how important it is that the business community be involved. A lot of businesses, may look at us or even be watching us now and think, well, I'm not a transportation business, so it doesn't really affect me. But really, transportation affects everybody. You need to get your employees to work. You need your customers to be able to get to your clients. You need to be able to get your deliveries either in the door or get what you make out the door. So transportation really does affect everyone. One great way to get involved is to use our comment periods, provide your feedback. I got a great email yesterday from a downtown Boise business talking about they're getting their employees to work and how high capacity transit could really help with that. And that kind of information is really helpful to us, hearing those voices of what will work for people. Also, just, stay in the know. You can always check our website. As you mentioned, we have a lot of information on there. We also have an education series where we bring in experts from around the region or around the nation to talk about issues that are important here, talking about growth and talking about housing. We had one earlier this year talking about resiliency, especially with all of our wildfires we've had this summer, is a really important topic. To do those, you can subscribe to our email list. There's a button right on our homepage. You can subscribe there. Also encourage you to follow us on social media. Also, just never hesitate to reach out. If you got a question, you can give us a call, send us an email. We can help get what you want or provide a speaker if you have an event or you have a club, service club or whatever. We are happy to provide that as well.
Timing for information from Compass couldn't be more relevant. And I got two more things before we kind of wrap up. Number one, I want to know your territory of advocacy. What is it? The entire state of Idaho? Is it just Caldwell, the Twin? Help me share that.
So there's kind of two different answers to that. Our planning area officially right now is Ada and Canyon counties.
Okay.
But as the Community Planning Association of Southwest Idaho, our joint powers agreement does extend to the 10 counties of Southwest Idaho. So we do have that opportunity to expand into those other counties if that is something that they would like. It's not something we would force on anyone, but that opportunity is there. But our official planning area is Ada and Canyon counties.
Okay. I was looking at the map. It just shows clear out Gowan Road and all the way out to Caldwell, and as far north as looks like. Do you go to Star as well, and then all the way down into Cuna?
Yeah.
Looks like so. Okay. And then finally, I'd love to talk about the Good Move Transportation Safety Campaign. Every day there are issues at intersections on our roads between all types of movement, between vehicles and pedestrians and cyclists and skateboarders and lime scooters, and everybody's going everywhere at the same time. And you have this Good Move Transportation Safety Campaign. Help me share what's going on with that.
Well, it's a brand new campaign that we have worked with all of our member agencies in Ada and Canyon County. So it's something that we're really all putting forward together to encourage transportation safety, really recognizing that we all have the responsibility for each other's safety. We're really pushing hard on emphasizing and being proactive with positive behaviors. It's not a campaign to say, don't do this, right, but really helping people think about what they do that is proactive and positive and helping keep themselves safe, as well as keeping their neighbors safe. So we just launched it, but be watching for that Good Move logo. It's bright green, hard to miss, not only coming from us, but from the other cities, or the cities and the counties and the highway districts in the area, really trying to have that united positive message, ultimately to reduce serious injuries and save lives, because that's really what's important about it, is we want everybody to get home safely every day.
Well, I know that the Boise School District, I've got 3 kids in the school district, they had sent out a questionnaire about how's your kid get to school? Do you drive? Do they bus? Do they bike? Do they walk? Why, when, how, what are the issues? What are the pros? What are the cons? Mm-hmm. And I think that's super important right now. So I just wrote down the Good Move Transportation Safety Campaign. You can go direct to compassidaho.org to learn more. Amy, thank you so much for your time today. I learned a lot, and I really appreciate Compass and the Chamber's partnership on our transportation committee, and just as members of each other's organizations.
Oh, thank you again. I appreciate you inviting me, and we love being a member of the Chamber and all the good work that you do just on a daily basis, and all the things that you have helped us with over the years. So we really appreciate that relationship as well.
Well, Amy, right back at you. Have a great weekend. Say hello to the team and thank them for all their efforts for planning for our community.
Will do. Thank you, Paul.
You bet.